because we're supposed to be learning the triennial cycle, right? What's the advantage of triennial cycle? It gives us more time to understand this. The triennial cycle basically has Moshe Rabbeinu stress the point that we saw last week. What was that point? What does it mean to antagonize the Gentiles? Start war with them. Have you guys gone over the Parsha yet? It's the Siman Beis in Devarim. It's basically the equivalent of the second chapter of Devarim, and not even the entire second chapter. It's the beginning of the second chapter. It's one pasuk. It's one pasuk into the second chapter, actually. So there's a few parshas there. Moshe Rabbeinu is recounting the final year of travels in the wilderness of Am Yisrael. What does he say there? This is something very interesting. God basically said in the last week's parsha that Am Yisrael was to be punished, their lack of faith and their lack of trust in God. They listened to Meraglim, so fine, you get what you want. Go back, go wander in the wilderness for another 38 years until you're all dead, and the next generation will get there. And then Moshe Rabbeinu says, so we basically went around Har Seir. We were going back and forth basically in this area south of Eretz Yisrael for a very long time. He says Yomim Rabin. How much does it come out to according to Chazal's calculation? Basically from Psukim, like I said, 38 years. And then God told Moshe Rabbeinu, no, it's enough. You're going around the mountain too much. Now you're actually going to cross through the land of Edom. So he says here, you're going to cross the border with the land of Edom. It says here, Atem ovrim bigvul achichem ben Esav. You're going through the border of your brothers, the children of Esau. Here's the pasuk: Al tithgaruvam. Don't start up with them. Ki lo etein lachem yartzam. Lithgaroth means to cause conquest, to start a fight, perhaps take over their land. Why? Ki Rishale Esav nathati Har Seir. I've given this Har Seir to Esav. Don't take it away from him. Fine. So there we have. Don't antagonize Esav. That is, don't go into his country and start up a fight with him. Just try to get through. Matter of fact, even offered to pay him. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu style. And it says that Melech Edom didn't let them actually go through certain areas, so they had to go around. But they entered the territory of Edom and they went sort of south and then north again. And then it says, Wanathan Wanavor, Derech Midbar Moav. And then we went in the direction of Midbar Moav. They're basically turning north. And God said once again, Al Tatzarat Moav, Al Tithkar Ba Milchama. Don't trouble Moab. Don't start up any wars with them. Why? Ki lo etein lecha me'artzo Yerusha, ki livnei lo nathati ar Yerusha. This area of Ar, their main city, I've given to the Bnei Lot. Moab is what? He's the older son of Lot. I've given this area to them. Don't start up with them. They've fairly conquered their own land. And what's the next stage? They had to cross Nachal Zered. Where are they crossing? Nachal Zered is the border between Moab and who? Ammon. It says, "Why the Ber Hashem Laile Mor Atal Ver Yometh Gvul Moavith Ar." Now you're leaving Gvul Moavith Ar, this Nachal Zered place. V'Karavta Mul Bnei Ammon Al Titzurein Val Tithgarbam. Same verbs. Don't start up with them. Don't start war with them. Why? Ki lo etain me eretz bnei Ammon l'charusha. Ki livnei lot l'ftati Yerusha. L'ftatia Yerusha. I'm not going to give you any land of Ammon either, because that's also given to the Bnei Lot. Bnei Lot divides into Ammon and Moab. So, okay, I think this getting kind of repetitive. There's 3 tribal groups now. Am Yisrael is to pass through the land. They're told, don't start fights with them, Al Tithgarba. And then it says, then you cross Nachal Arnon as you head north, and you get into the territory of Sichon. And, what does it say here? With Artso Achel Rosh, with Garbo Milchama. Him you could start a fight with. Really? But Sichon's going to attack them. So why does it say that Moshe? Why is Moshe given this permission to commence hostilities? One, first of all, they're going to offer peace to Sichon. Same way they passed through everything else, just let us go through. And Sichon's going to interpret that as, no, I have to do something about this. So you can commence hostilities because you're being attacked. But more than that, it's because this land now is for you to control, which is 2 important points. This is the source for what the Rambam says. What does the Rambam say? What's Milchemes Mitzvah? Gentlemen, what is Milchemes Mitzvah? And Ramban has I think he defines it differently. He says Milchemes Chova also. Okay? What is the basic understanding, Maimonidean understanding of Milchemes Mitzvah? Well, I would say taking it back, because if you never had it to begin with. Capturing the land, capturing and controlling the land that God has commanded you to control, and defense of Am Yisrael. And the Sichon incident basically brings up 2 of them. Really, they didn't have to attack Sichon, or they weren't commanded to conquer Ever Yarden. but Sichon attacked them. So once Sichon attacked them, Milchemes Mitzvah, you have to save Am Yisrael. And perhaps the way Chazal understand it, no, Ammon and Moab, Torah b'Sichon and Og. This area used to belong to Ammon and Moab. Remember, we just passed through Ammon and Moab. We're now in these areas in the Transjordan that for, I don't know, perhaps about 2 or 3 generations, maybe even less, says Vu Nilcham b'Melch Moab Rishon. Sichon himself had just taken away from Ammon and Moab, but for a few generations, it was in the hands of Ammon and Moab. So because God wanted this area to be part of Am Yisrael for their land, he brought about that the land was taken away from the Ammonites and Moabites and given to the Amorites, Sichon and Og, so that Am Yisrael can take it away from them. So it's a little bit ambiguous there. Okay, but the point is, we see 2 important rules for when we could start up with the Goyim. In our own territory, defending our own Torah interests means that we don't have to worry about antagonizing them or starting fights with them. Adrabah, it is our job to defend ourselves. It's our job to control this place. So in Eretz Yisrael, there is no such thing. Even today, by the way, nothing's changed. This Torah is eternal. Saying that once upon a time, the mitzvahs were in force, and somehow, because the Bnei Esav destroyed the Beis HaMikdash and took us into Golus 2,000 years ago, the Torah has been changed and is abrogated, and now does not apply. By the way, which major Esav group said that? The Torah was abrogated now. We've been rejected, and now the mitzvahs don't apply to us. I think that's whose main ideology is that? Oh, that's Christian. You're right. The Christians have been telling us so long that the Torah has been abrogated by God since they destroyed our temple and sent us into exile, and they've been dominating us, that we've almost come to believe this. But surprise, Am Yisrael, surprise, the Torah is in force today. And even today, within Eretz Yisrael, it is our job to control Eretz Yisrael. And whatever we do in Eretz Yisrael in order to maintain control of Eretz Yisrael and to defend ourselves in Eretz Yisrael is a commandment of the Torah, and a solemn obligation, and not an isur. So with all due respect to those Agudists and the Haredi parties and everybody else under the sun who would dare to tell us that we should not try to go forward with keeping the Torah's commandments, please learn the book of Deuteronomy, and then you'll realize you're wrong. Because the book of Deuteronomy is telling us this. What was it last week's parsha telling us? Last week's parsha in the triennial cycle. The way of the world is that one national group conquers the land from another, and that's totally fine. That's also the first Rashi in the Torah. And we have not conquered this land from any strangers. We're just controlling our national homeland. And it's also our job to have a proper system of governance and to build a temple. And once, as a national group, we realize that we could get ahead with this. But until then, we're not going to get that far. It's so surprising how much our ideology has been infected with Christian ideas. You know, we haven't gotten it out of our skulls yet. There's so much that's just plain old Christian. What other ideas do we get from Christianity? I forget. We talked about this. We could have a running list of bad ideas that have infected Am Yisrael, that have no place in Judaism. But what are you going to do? Well, I don't know what's anti-science even. I don't think there are some people who are afraid of scientists, because some scientists, when they discovered natural laws that govern the creation, they then decide to make theological pronouncements, which is totally not their I guess it's not their field of expertise. You know, just because you might find, let's just say, physical indications, physical evidence in this world that the physical aspect of humanity evolves from so-called lower forms of life, even if such a thing, like you could find evidence of that, to then go and say theologically that is let's say, shows that the godly account of creation in Genesis is therefore false. That's not their business. You know, the idea of how God created something is not the business of the Torah or the business of the scientists, because they're just telling you the physical thing, and the Torah is telling you basically moral and ethical instruction about how to live your life. You know, how man is different from the rest of creation, but it's not literally telling you anything about how God went about creating man. You know, oh, whatever. So people get threatened by science. Rabbi Soloveitchik wrote it very clearly. I have no problem with evolution. I don't feel threatened by that. neither biblical criticism, by the way. What are they going to do? They're going to say, "Oh, look, it seems that this part of the Torah is a source like this, and this part of the Torah is a source like that." Shkoyach. Do you know how to read the Torah? Do you understand what the Torah is trying to tell you? No, they don't get that, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, but a certain hostility to scientific discovery is certainly was a major factor in Christian Europe, right? So yeah, we might have picked that up.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.